All right, guys, this is our week 3 play of the hand review of what we've been covering so far. And thank you guys for coming early today. So,
Thank
because
you for
this,
being here, Sally.
you're welcome. This is not our usual time, but anyway, you'll be glad to know I've gotten all my Christmas decorations ready. So, I'll be able to leave as soon as this meeting's over. Go get that taken care of. Um, anyway, so let's talk about where we have been so far. Um, hey, Jan.
Hey,
Hi, Jan.
Hi, Jan.
hi there.
Let me go ahead and just share with you. Let's look at our making a plan because we talked about from the very beginning that this is what we're going to be the basis of what we're going to be talking about throughout the entire class. And that's same thing holds true it's parts of this for this week's session. I'm going to be spending most of the time in the book today, though, so make sure you have your book with you because you're going to need to look at the hands in the book as we refer to them. First, though, just as a reminder, every time we are a declarer, when the lead comes out and we see the dummy down on the board, we are going to look at that before we do anything else and make a plan. Make a plan to be sure that we are able to get the tricks we need. So the first thing that we do in the plan is assessing the situation. And that means we look to see what is our goal? How many tricks do we have to have? What have we promised we'll make? Then we look at what sure tricks do we have? What tricks can we count? And if we are in a no trump contract, we count winners. If we're in a suit contract, we count losers. That's because in a no trump contract, the highest card wins, and we don't have to worry about trump. Whatever's the high card that's led, that's the card that's going to win. So that's we look at winners. But in a suit contract, we have to worry about trumps, and we can use our trumps to our advantage. So both of those things mean that we can focus on losers only, because not always is the high card the winner. So no trump, we look at winners. Suit contracts, we look at losers. We look at the difference between what we've got as tricks and what we need to have. And that tells us the extra tricks that we need. So once we come up with that, and it's usually 1 or 2, sometimes more, then we go to browsing the checklist. What can we do to develop these extra tricks that we need? The first thing we can do is finesse. We can promote tricks. That means, excuse me. Excuse me. Promotion means that if we have the king, queen, jack, 10, that once the ace is gone, those move up and become winners. Length is when we have a long suit. We've got 8 or 9, sometimes even 7, but usually 8 or 9 or more in a suit. Once we play the suit enough times, the cards that are left in that suit will be winners. And the last thing is trumping in dummy. Those are the 4 ways that we can actually get more tricks to make us be able to make our contract. Then the last part is considering the order that we do things in. We nearly always draw trump first, unless there's a reason not to. We need to use the trump, maybe to trump something on the short side first, so we can't draw our trumps first. We usually play the high card from the short side first. That helps us to conserve our high cards and to play the suits the most efficiently. We also usually develop our extra tricks early. If we need to develop extra tricks, it's best that we attack that early on so that we don't lose control in a suit before we've been able to get the tricks made that we need to have made. And the last thing is be in the right place at the right time. Last week, the first week, we discussed promotion and length. And last week, we focused on finessing and trumping and dummy. The important thing about finessing to remember, when we finesse, we play towards the card that we want to win. So if we have 3 small cards in our hand and we have a king on the board and a couple of small and nothing else, we play a low card towards the king, hoping the king will win. If the ace is in to our left, if the ace is in the hand before we get to the king, our king can win. If it's in the hand after the king, to our right, the king is going to lose. So we play low. The person on our left may play the ace. Fine, your king is a winner. If they don't play the ace and they play a small card, you play your king. If the ace was in that hand, your king will win. If the ace is in the hand on your right side, the ace is going to cover your king and your king will lose. And then you won't get a trick in that suit. And is there anything you can do to improve your odds on that?
No.
It's just 50-50. Depends on where the ace is as to whether you'll be able to win that trick. That's the simplest form of finesse when you're looking for that one card, but that's the principle that you use every time you're finessing and trying to make a card good. It can get more complicated. Sometimes you'll have the ace and the queen on the board and nothing in your hand. Then you'll lead towards the queen, because that's the card you'd like to make good. Your ace is always going to be good. Sometimes you have the ace, queen, jack, 10, and you're missing the king. And then usually you will lead the queen first because you want to promote your jack and your 10. And in the chapter where it talked about this, it talked about the fact that whether or not you lead the queen first or you lead to the queen depends on whether you have other cards underneath the queen to promote. If you don't, if you just have the ace and the queen, then you just lead towards the queen, no matter where the ace is. The ace is just going to win. But if you have the ace, queen, jack, 10 between the two hands, then you'll probably lead the queen first, hoping to drive out the king and cover it with your ace, and that promotes the jack and 10 in your hand. A little bit more complicated situation is where you don't have cards together and you're missing a couple of honors. And that would be the situation of like you've got the ace, queen, 10, and a couple of small, and you lead towards the ace, queen, 10, and the one you play is the smaller one. So you lead small, you wait to see what the person on your left does. If they play small, you play the 10. That gives you the best odds of making 2 cards good instead of just 1 card. If you're missing 2, you probably can't get 3 tricks in that suit, but that gives you the best odds of making 2 tricks in the suit. If you play low and they play low and you put in the 10, if the person that's on your right has both the jack and the king, they're going to get 2 tricks and you'll only get 1. But if they have the king, they'll have to play that, and your ace and queen will then be good and will take care of the jack. So it's best if you play the low card when you're missing a couple of other cards. Yes, is there a question?
Yes, Sally, isn't there, and I know you'll talk about this in the defense class, but if the opponents see that you're trying to make extra tricks from what you have in dummy, they're going to cover the second honor rather than the first honor.
That's
Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to play the lowest one they can to win. And if like I said, if you've got the king jack on the wrong side, you're going to lose both. You're only going to get one trick. But if they're split with the jack on the left and the king on the right, you'll get two tricks. If they're split with the jack on the right, the king on the right and the king on the left and the jack on the right, you'll still only be able to get one trick, but it gives you the most chances of getting two tricks if you play towards the lower one. So just remember to play towards the lower one. If you're missing multiples, play towards the lowest one that could win. That gives you the best chance. Then last week, we also talked about trumping in dummy. And the important thing about trumping in dummy is to remember that that's the only way to get extra tricks in your trump suit, is to trump in dummy. Trumps are good to have in your hand because they keep the opponents from making extra tricks. So if you have a singleton club in your hand, they can only get one club trick that way. But you're still not getting rid of any extra losers in your hand because you're already counting your trump suit for how many losers you have in the trump suit. So the way to get extra tricks when you're looking for to assess the situation and figure out the extra tricks that you need is if you can trump using the trump that are on the short side, the ones that have the hand that has the fewer trump in it. An easy situation to see is if you have the ace, king, queen, and two small in your hand, and you have three little ones on the board, and you have three little hearts in your hand and spades as trump, and you need to trump hearts 3 times. Well, you can't pull your trump until you use the 3 little ones on the board to trump your hearts that you have in your hand. If you play the ace, king, queen out of your hand and pull your trump, then you have no trump left on the board to trump with. But if you can use those little trumps to trump outside of your trump suit, then those develop extra tricks for you. So that's the important thing to remember about using your trump suit, is that trumping in the dummy, being able to use a trump that would otherwise fall under a higher trump, to use that by itself instead of having 2 used at the time, gives you extra tricks. So you have to pay attention to that. And that is frequently why we do not draw our trump first. We nearly always draw trump first, but the big reason that we don't draw trump first is if we need to trump in the dummy. So that's the important thing about that. And the second important thing about trumping in dummy is drawing your trump, remembering to play the high card from the short side first. Okay, so now let's move on to, in our book, into chapter 5. In chapter 5, what we're talking about here is transportation problems. How to make sure that you can go back and forth between your 2 hands so you can execute your plan, so that you can get to both sides that you need to get to develop the tricks you need when you need to develop them. And I know all of you, because you've played bridge long enough, have played a hand where you develop some tricks, say on the board, and they're sitting over there, but you can't get to them. Good tricks, but you no longer have an entry over onto the board. These are called transportation problems. And this is part of what you need to work out when you're making the plan. The things that we're talking about today, we're getting a little bit harder, a little bit more into the thought process of how we make our plan, because we've already learned all the things that we can do to develop extra tricks. Now we need to figure out what order do we need to do things in? Is it important to do one thing before another thing? We've already learned that sometimes it's important not to draw trump before you use trump to trump on the dummy side. But now we also need to think about what entries do we have going back and forth, and how can we conserve entries in each hand so that we can get to the right place at the right time. And if you'll look at your book on page 156, it gives you some easy examples of how you can use your entries. The first example it gives is where you have 3 small cards in your hand and the ace and 2 small cards on the board. Well, you just play towards the ace. The ace is an entry on the board or in the dummy. On the other hand, if you have no cards in your hand and you have the ace, king, queen on the board, you have no entries on the board because you can't get to the ace, king, queen. You need to have a way to get to it in order for it to be an entry. If you do have nothing in your hand and the ace, king, queen on the board, you need to have an entry in another suit, a trump or a high card in another suit to get to the board so you can use your ace, king, queen. But the ace, king, queen by itself and a suit that you don't have a card to get to it is not an entry. On the other hand, if you have nothing on the board, you're void there, but you have a couple of small cards in your hand, you can get to the board by trumping if you have trump. And the nice thing about that, if you have 2 small cards, 2 loser cards in your hand and nothing on the board, if you play one of those little cards and trump it, that does 2 things. It gives you an entry because you've trumped and now you're over there, and it got rid of a loser out of your hand, which is always what we're looking for, is to get rid of losers in our hand. Remember, when we count losers, we look at it from the point of view of our hand. So if you have nothing on the board, 2 small in your hand, you can trump to create an entry and you get rid of the loser.
Sally,
Yes.
I always have problems with doing something like that. Trump with a 3 and an over trump by the opposition.
Yeah.
What can we do as far as choosing the trump to make this happen?
Well, that's part of what you need to think about when you're making your plan is 2 things. What is the likelihood that they'll trump? If you only have 5 cards in suit, or in the example I gave, you just got 2 little ones in your void on the board, you don't need to worry about them trumping in. The chances of them trumping in is infinitesimal. If you've only got 5 cards and they've got 8, it's not likely that they're going to be able to over trump you. So that's one thing, the likelihood. You need to worry about that. The second thing is, do you have a wealth of trump? Can you trump high? If you think there's a likelihood, however small, that you're going to be trumped, if you have the ace, king, queen, jack, 10 in one hand and the 9, 8, 7, 2 in the other hand, play the 9, 8, 7. Don't play the 2. So that helps you eliminate the possibility of them over roughing you. Sometimes there's not much you can do about it, though, because sometimes part of what you're needing to do is leave entries on the board and be able to trump. And when that's the case, you have to take a chance sometimes and trump with a small card and just hope that the odds are with you that you don't get over roughed. But that is a problem that you need to pay attention to, is how high do I need to go? We learned the phrase, don't send a boy to do a man's job. So trump as high as you can and still conserve the trumps that you need to trump. Okay, over on page 159, page 158. Page 158, it's talking about creating an entry where we don't have a natural one. For instance, if we have an ace on the board, we've got an entry. But if we have a king and two small on the board, we may have an entry to the board when we need to get there, but we're not sure. So what we need to do is finesse to try to make that king good, to make it an entry. So that's one way we can create an entry on the board. So we lead towards the king. If West plays the ace, our king is going to be good, and then it'll be an entry. If West doesn't play the ace, we play our king. And if they had the ace, our king is good. If East plays the ace on top of our king, we don't have an entry in that suit. But that's the way to try to create an entry on the board when you need to get to the board to do something. You also can use length to create an entry to the board sometimes, and that's if you have a long suit. And then they give an example here of you've got an ace, king, 5-3 in your hand, and the 8-6-4-2 on the board. Well, you don't have an entry on the board just on the face of it with that situation. But if you play the ace and then the king, and then a small one to lose one in that suit, the fourth one that's left should be a winner, should be an entry to the board. So sometimes you have to look forward to also seeing that. Most of the time when you're looking for entries, this could be either in a no trump contract or in a suit contract. And when you're using length to develop an entry, that's mostly in a no trump contract, although it could be in a suit contract also. On page 159, it points out that you can use both sides of the suit. If you have the ace queen on one side and the king jack on the other, you've got entries on both sides. That's the best situation to be in. Do that if you can. But if you can't, you need to make sure you can serve your entries. And it gives you an example of having the queen and a small one on the board and the ace, king, jack in your hand. Well, in that case, if you need to have an entry to the board, you need to not play the ace or the king first. You need to make sure that the queen stays over there to be an entry. You would need to lead small towards that queen. And that's an example of taking the high card from the short side first. We play towards the queen, that gives us the entry over there. If we try to play our high cards first, we can no longer get to the board to make that a good entry. There's several examples here that I want to go over because these are gives us some really good examples of how to use entries to make your contract that you need to make. Page 160. On page 160, we're looking at a hand here where our contract is 3 no trump. And the opening lead is the queen of clubs. For a 3 no trump contract, we need to make 9 tricks, right? And we're going to be looking at winners because it's a no trump contract. So we're going to be counting the winners that we have. So if we look first at the spade suit, we can see 2 winners in the spade suit, the ace and king of spades. We've got 1 winner in the heart suit, the ace of hearts. We've got no immediate winners in the diamond suit, no sure tricks. But once the ace is gone, we've got 4 winners in diamonds. And we've got 2 winners in clubs. So the sure winners we have are 2 in spades, 1 in hearts, and 2 in clubs. That's 5. We need to have 4 winners in diamonds to make our contract. And if we knock the ace of diamonds out, we have our contract. But look at this hand and see if you can see a problem with making those 4 diamonds good. The diamonds are on the board. Once you knock the ace of diamonds out, unless they cooperate with you and play it the first time, which they're not going to do, you are not going to have a diamond to lead towards your good diamonds on the board. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
So
So you want to make sure you leave that ace of clubs there to have that entry if West doesn't cooperate and play the ace of diamonds.
that's exactly right. This is a transportation problem where you have to save an entry on the board, and the only entry you have is the ace of clubs. So they're going to play the queen of clubs. They've led that. And look at the West's hand. They've got the queen, jack, 10 to the 5th of clubs. So they're going to lead the top of a sequence. We'll find that in defense. They lead the top of a sequence. They lead the queen of clubs. We could win either on the board or in our hand. We could beat the king of clubs. I mean, the queen of clubs. But we choose to win it in our hand because we have to leave the ace of clubs there. This is a perfect example of why we say that before you do anything towards playing, you don't ever call for a card off dummy until you've made your plan. Because if you haven't made your plan, you might just think, well, I could win either side. Here, I could play the ace, win it there. I could play the king and win it there. But you can't. If you play that ace of clubs, you cannot make this contract. Because you can never cash.
Sally, would it be okay to lose the first club trick?
You can do that if you want to.
Yeah.
And the value of doing that is that it takes away their communication process. So that if East is going to be trying to lead a club back to his partner, because he knows his partner has at least the king, queen, jack, the queen, jack, 10 of clubs. So he's going to want to lead back if he can. If you duck once, then yes, that's probably a good idea. But even if you don't in this time, because you have 2 winners, you're okay. So he can play the queen of clubs, you play small, East plays small, and you win it with the king. Or if you want, you let the first one go by. Either way, it's okay. You win with the king of clubs, and after you win with the king of clubs, either on the first or the second trick, what is the next thing you do? What card do you play out of your hand?
Queen of diamonds.
Queen of diamonds. Queen of diamonds. Do you see that? You play the queen because we always play the high card from the short side first. That lets us use our cards most efficiently. We play the queen, hoping to drive out the ace. So we play the queen of diamonds and hope that one of them will play a diamond. We play the queen. What is West going to do?
He's going to duck.
He's going to duck. You'll learn that in defense class. He's going to duck. He doesn't want to make this easy for you. He can see as soon as he plays that ace of diamonds, your diamonds are good. He can see the board. So he is not going to play the ace. So you're going to play your queen. He's going to play a small diamond. You play a small diamond from the board, and East plays a small diamond. Your queen has then won. You lead a small diamond from your hand now. He's still going to play low. He's not going to play the ace of diamonds. Okay? He's going to play low. You win it with the king or the jack or the 10. So you play the king or the jack or the 10 and win that. And now your East will play their second diamond. They're out now. Now you lead another diamond from the board. You're on the board.
You've already led 2.
No, you led the queen and won
And then
that.
two-
And then
and
you
then
led a
two-
small one and won that on the board. So now everybody's played 2 diamonds.
Right.
Now you play the third diamond off the board
Oh, from the board.
from the board. 'cause
Okay,
that's where
because you
are.
took the second, you took the
Yeah,
second trick from
Exactly,
the,
when you had to take
Okay.
that on the board. You
Okay.
leave the third diamond off the board, and now West is gonna win with the ace of diamonds. When he wins with the ace of diamonds, no matter what he leads now, you're okay. If he goes ahead and leads another club, fine, you win the ace of clubs and you're on the board. If he leads either a spade or a heart, because he can see you've got good diamonds on the board, you're fine because you've got winners in your hand and you can still lead a club back to the ace of clubs.
It's a good example.
Okay. Once you do that, then you take the rest of your diamond tricks and you've got your suit. You've got your contract. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Key
Yes.
ingredient there is figuring you need to get all those diamonds good. And once you make the diamonds good, you've got to get over to the diamonds. And the only way to do that is by keep holding on to the ace of clubs on the board. Okay, let's look at the next one, page 161. Page 161, we still have a 3-no trump contract. And this time they've led the queen of spades. So we look at our hand. We've got 2 winners in spades, ace and king. We've got 3 winners in hearts, the ace, king, queen. We've got 1 winner in diamonds, and we've got 2 winners in clubs. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8 winners. We just need 1 more winner. So where can the 1 more winner come from in this hand?
Clubs.
Clubs, because we've got an 8-card club suit. So the most likely place, the only place that we can get an extra trick is in clubs. So in order to get an extra trick in clubs, we aren't going to get an extra trick because we just have the ace king. So if we lead the ace and then we lead the king, we're going to have to give up a club, right? To make our other 2 clubs good, because they aren't all going to fall. So we have to give up a club in order to get the extra club trick that we need. Right? Everybody see that?
yes,
If we do give up a club trick, so we play the ace and the king, and then we play a small one and give up a club, now we've got hopefully 2 good clubs on the board. But we need to be able to get to the board to play those 2 good clubs. And so what is the only
Sally,
way?
wouldn't we lose 2 club tricks? Because once the ace king is gone, the east side still would have 2
In
good
this
clubs.
case, yes. In this
Yeah.
case, when we're planning, when we're doing our planning, we're figuring for a 3-2 split, because that's about
okay.
70% of the time. So that's what we're looking for. And we're thinking we'll have 2 good club tricks. You're exactly right, though. We don't. We only have one more club trick, but that's all we need to have. That's all we need to have is 1 more,
So we need to hold on
right?
to
Because
it.
we have 8 sure tricks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the important thing to realize is in order to get any extra club tricks, we're going to be on the board with the winning club tricks. Whatever is left is going to be on the board. So we have to hold on to that ace of hearts over there as an entry to the board. So they're going to play the queen of spades. Then we play small, small, and win with the ace. Now what do we do?
Pack clubs.
lead a club,
Lead a club. Lead a club. They will play the 5 of clubs and you'll play the ace. And they will follow what East will. And then you'll play the king of clubs. And East will play a club and you'll play a club and West will show out. So now you know there was a 4-1 split. And now you know you're going to have to give up 2 club tricks. Right?
Right.
So now you go ahead and lead a club. And they take that club. And if they are generous, they will go ahead and cash their last club that they have. And that gives you no problems then, because you can then just play and lead towards the ace of hearts. And that's good. And that's the only way to make this contract. You have to give up a club early. Now, if you give up the club before you play the ace and king of clubs to protect against the 4-1 split, then you have no problem on this hand. If you have a 3-2 split, you have no problem. If you have a 4-1 split like this is, it's best to play a low club and then play, instead of the ace or king, play a low club from the board.
Yep.
And give up the club, because that gives you, leaves your entries on the board that you need. Then you can come back with another club. You still have winning clubs on the board, rather than using your 2 ace and king of clubs right off. That protects against the 4-1 split.
Right.
Okay, let's look at one more good example here, and that's on page 162. Here we have a suit contract. The suit is, what we're playing is 4 hearts, and they lead the queen of diamonds. And so we're going to count losers in this case. With our losers in spades, we have 1 loser. In hearts, we have no losers. In diamonds, we have 2 losers. And in clubs, we have 1 loser. Okay, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 losers, which is 1 too many. We can only have 3 losers. So how would we get rid of 1 loser here?
Simon?
And try to finesse for that queen of
The
clubs.
king of clubs, right? The only real hope we have is for the king of, for us to finesse and for us not to lose a club trick. If we don't lose a club trick, then we've made our contract, because that's one of the losers, is the king of clubs. But in order to finesse for the king of clubs, we have to lead from dummy, right?
Not
So we
real
have to
easy.
be able to get to dummy in order to be able to lead from dummy. So right now we have the ace of spades and the 10 of hearts are the only winners that we have on that hand. Do you see that?
Yes.
So we need to finesse, be able to come twice from the hand. If they don't play the king, we will play low from the board. If East has the king and doesn't play it, then we'll have to put in the jack, which will win, but we have to go back to the board to lead a second time to come back to make our other club good, because we need 3 club tricks, not just 2, 3. We can't lose a club and make this contract. So that means a couple of things. We can't draw trump. Well, we can draw a couple of trump, but we need to make sure that we keep the 10 of hearts over there to be an entry.
Mhm.
And one of the ways we can get over there is if we play, we can try the diamond finesse, because that could work. The king could be good. So we can play low to the king, and the ace is going to win. So that finesse doesn't work. Then they will lead another diamond. Well, what's going to happen actually is when they play the queen of diamonds, we're going to cover it with our king, hoping that West had the ace. They don't. East is going to have the ace. So they play the queen, we play the king, they play the ace. They're going to win that. Now they're going to lead a diamond back, and we're going to play low. Okay. But now we are out of diamonds in our hand.
So we're gonna try.
So we can use a diamond from the board to come back to our hand, right?
Yeah,
But we need to make sure that we do not trump with the 3 of heart, with the 2 of hearts.
because we need that to get back to the 10.
If we trump with the 2 of hearts, we've killed the 10 of heart entry on the board.
Since I often don't.
So this is why you need to think from the very beginning, where do I need to be? How many entries do I need to have on that side? And it's usually the dummy we're worried about. So how many entries do I need to have to dummy? In this case, you need to have 2 entries because you need to be able to finesse twice from that hand to come around, hoping if the king is in the right place, which it is, you can get all your club tricks, but you have to be able to lead twice to those. So you need to keep 2 entries on the board. Okay, the next thing is talking about being able to watch out for your entries by roughing. And if you'll look at page 164, 164 has a hand where you have, you're playing a 4-spade contract. You have to lose 2 spades, the ace and king. You've got 3 losers in hearts. You've got the ace of hearts, but you've got 3 other losers in your hand. You've got 1 loser in diamonds and no losers in clubs. So you need to be able to trump 3 little hearts on the board. That's the only way to make this contract, is to be able to get back to your hand 3 times. So you need 3 entries in your hand to be able to make that contract. Well, the ace of hearts is one of those entries. Then the other 2 are going to come from clubs, the king and the jack. But you've got a little bit of a problem in clubs. You need to watch out, because if you play, if you don't make sure that the king and jack are both winners, then you won't be able to play those. So you need to win the first trick with the ace of clubs, so that that leaves the king and jack in your hand to both be winners. One more example, and this is of discarding losers, is over on page 165. And on page 165, here you just have a 2 heart contract. And you have no losers in spades, because you've got the ace, king, queen, jack of spades. So no losers in spades. 2 losers in hearts, the ace and the king. 2 losers in diamonds, and 3 losers in clubs. So you have too many losers. You've got 7 losers, and you can only afford to have 5 losers, right? You've got 7 losers. So what you'll need to do is, if you look at dummy, you have extra winners in dummy. because you've got the ace, king in spades. You've got the ace, king, queen, jack of spades. So you've got at least 2 extra winners in spades that you can discard those losing clubs on. Do you see that?
Yep.
But look at the
No
makeup
entry.
of your spades. You have the king with the ace, queen, jack on the other side.
Mhm.
So if you play the
you
king of
have to go
spades and let it win,
With
you're
the
dead.
ace.
Because you can never then get over to those spades to throw your little clubs away. You would have to
So
have them
Sally, you're
lead spades
saying
for
that,
you. Yes, Debbie?
so Sally, you play the ace, the king of spades, and then you overtake it with the ace, and
Exactly
then
right.
your rest are good.
You
Yeah,
lead your queen, king of spades, and take it with the ace.
yeah.
You can't win all of those spade tricks because you need to use them, the queen and the jack, to throw those other 2 little clubs away so that you don't have 3 losers in clubs. You've only got 1 loser in clubs, and that will give you your contract. You had 7 losers, and 5 losers is the most that you can have. So all of these different hands are just examples of ways of things you need to look for to figure out how you get rid of your losers, and then to figure out how you get to the place you need to be. This is all part of the considering the order, part of our making a plan. What order do we do things in? And these transportation problems are come up in nearly every hand. It's hardly any hand that you can just easily go back and forth. If you can, and sometimes you can, great. But you do need to think as part of your planning process at the very beginning, where do I need to be? Where are the winners I need to get to, and how do I get to them?
You know, that's hard though, to give up a king
It's hard.
to the ace.
It's hard,
That's-
but it's the right thing. It's the only thing to do.
I know, but
It's
I'm
hard.
not sure I can do that.
It's like in defense when you need to unblock your suit so that you can run your partner's suit. You know, a lot of times if your partner we're in a no trump contract and your partner leads the ace or leads the queen, you need to throw away a high card so that your partner, you don't get stuck in your hand and your partner can win. That's hard too, but that's the only right play. Okay, the other thing that we covered this week was chapter 6. And chapter 6 is watching out for the opponents. So this is then kind of gets back to one of the things Ken was talking about is, you know, you need to think about what cards you have and what your opponents may do, like may they trump in. So what do we need to do? One of the things that you frequently need to do to keep the opponents from being able to give you grief is you may need to hold up, because a lot of times we need to develop things, and so we need to keep control instead of giving up control to the opponents. But in order to keep control, sometimes we have to give up a trick before we have control in a suit. There's an example on page 198. Page 198, where it talks about this principle of the holdup. If we go ahead and take our ace, particularly in a no trump contract, if we take our ace, and that's the only control we have in the suit, they're going to be able to cash however many cards they have on the long side in that suit. And usually that's more than we can afford for them to do. If all of them are on one side, we can't do too much about that. If they're split between the 2 hands, though, we need to make sure that their communication is broken so that the person with the short side can't lead back to the person that has the long string of the suit we're worried about. So on page 198, there's an example. We're playing a 3 no trump contract here, and they lead the 4 of hearts. In our defense class, and of course you guys already know that generally If we lead a low card, that means we've got cards in the suit. It means it's a good suit. And leading a low card in no trump usually means it's a fourth down in the suit. So that means he's got at least 3 other cards if he leads that, if not more. So in this case, he's going to lead the 4 of hearts. So that tells us he's got a heart suit that he wants to develop and that his partner is going to help him develop. So we look between our 2 hands to count our winners, and we have 2 winners in spades. We've got 1 winner in hearts. We've got no immediate winners in diamonds, but as soon as the ace of diamonds is gone, we've got 4 winners in diamonds. And we've got 4 winners in clubs. So that's 4 in clubs, 4 possible in diamonds is 8. And the ace and king of spades, that's actually 10 winners that we have. But we've got a problem in hearts because we only have 1 winner in hearts. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Good in every other suit, except we have to lose at some point because we have to lose to the king of diamonds, to the ace of diamonds. So what we have to hope is that the person that has the ace of diamonds is not the person that has all the hearts. So what we have to do is make it so that the person that has all the hearts, we're hoping, we know that that is West. West is our dangerous opponent. They have all the hearts. We're hoping that East has the ace of diamonds and that we'll play it after he doesn't have any more hearts to lead back to his partner. So to do that, we have to hold up and not win our ace of hearts immediately. So he leads the 4 of hearts. We play low from our hand, from the board. And East is going to play the queen of hearts and win the queen of hearts. Then East is going to lead back a small heart because we always return our partner's lead. That's what he's going to do. He's going to lead a small heart back to his partner. The partner is going to play the jack of hearts because he can see our ace on the board. So he's going to play the jack of hearts, or actually he can play the 9 of, well, we're putting in the 10. We're putting the 10 of hearts from our hand. We put in the 10 of hearts. He's going to have to play the jack of hearts. You see that so far?
Yeah.
We play low
We're
from the
gonna play-
board. We do not win that trick. Now he's going to lead hearts again. He'll lead a low heart. We take it with the ace, but look what's happened. His partner then has to play his last heart. The 3rd time the hearts are played, his partner is now out of hearts. We've won with the ace. So now we lead our diamonds. We lead a small diamond towards the king. We've just won with the ace of hearts. We lead a small diamond towards the king. And we hope like heck that East has the ace of diamonds. And it turns out East does have the ace of diamonds. But look, if East wins the ace of diamonds on the first trick, then he doesn't have a heart to lead back to his partner. His partner can't cash those other hearts. He's gonna hold up on the ace. He's probably not gonna play it on the first trick. He'll probably wait till the 3rd trick to play it. But no matter, we still are going to be able to get the rest of those diamond tricks because we have a club, the king of clubs entry on the board. So we're good. So the key ingredient here is not to take the ace on the first. This comes up a lot of times in no trump. They will lead a long suit and you can see you've got a problem in that suit. So when you do, you want to hold up. You don't want to let them take control immediately. You need to hold up. There is a rule that you can use. There are a lot of rules, the rule of 20, the rule of 7, the rule of 15. There's a lot of rules that you can use in bridge. And Larry Cohen talks about he hates the rules of a number. He thinks you should use the rules of thinking. But still, these rules do come up a lot and they are useful. And this is a useful one. The rule of 7. And this is used in a no trump contract when they're developing the suit and you have one stopper, the ace. That's when this rule of 7 is useful. And the rule of 7 says you take the number of cards that you have between your two hands, subtract it from 7, and that tells how many times you should hold up. And it works on this hand. You have in your hand 5 hearts with just the ace. That's all you've got. So you subtract 5 from 7, that's 2. That tells you should hold up twice. And that's what we'll do here. We hold up twice. We play the heart, the ace of hearts, the third trick. We hold up twice. We let them win 2, and then we win the third one. That breaks the communication between the two hands. And now the opponent cannot use hearts to get back to his partner's hand. If West has the hearts and the ace of diamonds, you're not going to make your contract. So that's the rule of 7, and that is a hold-up play. To not just immediately get rid of your ace of diamonds ace of hearts, because if you do, you'll not be able to develop your diamonds before they can cash their hearts. A lot of times I think of no trump as a race, as it usually is a race between you getting to set up your suit before they can cash all the cards they have in their long suit.
So is rule of 7 used only with long suits?
Only in no trump, and only if they're trying to set up a suit and you have the ace, you have one stopper, the ace. And it tells you when to play the ace. That's the only thing that rule of 7 is good for. But it comes up pretty often because in no trump, you lead your longest suit. And frequently their long suit is not your long suit. It's your short suit. That's why it's dangerous. And you have one stopper, the ace, and that tells you how long to hold up with the ace. Sometimes you don't hold up, and there's an example of that on page 202. Page 202. And this situation is a little bit different because they are leading a small spade. You're still in a 3-no trump contract, and that's where the hold up play applies. Notice that it applies at no trump, not a suit contract. Why wouldn't it apply at a suit contract? Somebody can trump in, right? So you
Yeah,
don't
sure.
hold up. In a suit contract, you have trump to control the suit, but in no trump, you don't have any other control in the suit but whatever high cards you have. So you may want to hold on to those cards, but you don't always hold on to those cards. In this situation, we have 6 spades. We know they have a long heart suit they're going to try to develop because they're leading the 5 of spade suit. They're leading the 5 of spades. We just have one stopper in there. And we see that we need to develop our diamond suit. In this case, you don't need to hold up. The rule of 7 would tell us to hold up one time, and it wouldn't hurt to hold up one time. But it doesn't really do anything in this case. You can go ahead and take the ace from the beginning, then play the diamond to knock out the ace of diamonds, play the diamonds however many times you need to have to play the ace of diamonds. The chances of them running the long spade suit are not very good because you've got 6, they only have 7. And when they lead the 5 of spades, you don't know how they're divided, but probably most likely they're divided 4-3. So this is an example of where you go ahead and take the ace, or at most hold up one time and then take the ace.
Can you go back, Sally, when you said in a trump suit, you don't want to hold up playing the ace, because I know I've done that, and then it does get trumped. I let it go by the first time, then I play it the second time, and it gets trumped. Is there a guideline for when to play that ace in a suit contract?
Well,
Is that defense?
not a good one. The I asked a really top player years ago that exact thing. I said, how do I know? I mean, because sometimes you need to hold up. How do I know how long to hold up? And she said you should always hold up one less time than you think you should hold up.
One less time.
Doesn't really help. But anyway, the point is that if you hold up too much, you give up more often than you gain. So better be conservative about holding up, because you will get trumped in a suit contract. Now, holding
suit
up and
contract.
no trump is a different thing.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at page 204. 204. We're talking about the dangerous opponent here, the opponent that we need to worry about. And just as you are going to hold up, they will hold up, so that they are not going to let you just cash your tricks. They're going to hold up on and take control away from you. And this is an example of that situation. This is a 3 no trump contract. You've got 1 winner in spades, 2 in hearts, 2 in diamonds, and possibly 4 in clubs once the ace of clubs is knocked out. But they are not going to be generous and play their ace of clubs right away. And when they play their whenever they play their ace of clubs, you've got a problem in spades, because you only have 1 winner in spades, but you've got 2 winners in hearts and diamonds. So you need to hang on to the king of hearts on the board, because they're going to hold up so that you can't just keep playing your clubs. They're going to play their ace of clubs at the last possible opportunity. And you need to have a way to get back to the clubs that are on the board. This is the idea of conserving an entry on the board, so that you can cash the rest of those clubs. So they're going to hold up, just like you can hold up, they are going to hold up. So, and that is a transportation problem where you have to watch out for keeping a good heart on the board, so that, because you're going to, as soon as they're going to lead the queen of hearts, and you'll win with the ace of hearts, but then you are going to lead a small club, and they're going to duck, and you win with the king of clubs, and then you play the queen of clubs, and they're still going to duck, and then you play the jack of clubs, and now they have to play their ace of clubs, and now they'll lead their other heart, but you've got the king on the board, and now your other clubs are good. So you make your contract.
Yes.
You have to win with the ace of hearts on the first trick in your hand. And you must attack the clubs immediately, because if you don't attack the clubs immediately and make them play the ace, then they're going to lead the hearts again, take your king of hearts off the board, and then you'll never be able to develop your clubs.
Right.
Okay, there's one more example in this chapter, and that's on page 208. And this is an example of avoiding the dangerous opponent, figuring out who the dangerous opponent is. And this is one of the toughest things to do, because first of all, you need to figure out who the dangerous opponent is. And that's kind of hard sometimes. The second thing is you need to figure out a way to avoid the dangerous opponent getting in with whatever it is that's dangerous for him to get in with. So let's look at the example on page 208. On page 208, we've got a 3 no trump contract. We've got one winner in spades. We've got 3 winners in hearts. We've got 1 immediate winner in spades, diamonds,
Diamonds.
plus at least 3 more. Once, if the king finesse is on. And then in clubs, same situation. We've got 1 winner in clubs plus 3 more if that king finesse is on. They lead the king of spades. You've got 1 stopper in spades, the ace of spades. So when they lead the king of spades, who do you think is the dangerous opponent?
West.
West. The West has at least the king, queen, jack of spades, and undoubtedly 4 or more spades. And you only have 1 way to stop it. You only have 5 spades between you. So they've got 8 between them. They're most likely split 5-3, which means that they are going to get at least 4 spade tricks. So that's a danger for you. That's the dangerous opponent. So you need to hope that you keep them from being able to cash the rest of their spades. So you lead the spades. They're going to lead the spades. You hold up and play your ace of spades on the 3rd trick, the last time you have to play it. Well, now East has no more spades to lead back. So what we want to have happen is we want for East to be the one that wins any tricks that are won, not West. So we have 2 suits that we have a possibility of having a winner in, clubs or diamonds. If the king of diamonds is in the West hand, that's a problem for us.
Yeah.
If the king of clubs is in the East hand, that's okay, because if the king of clubs wins in East, he can't lead back a spade, which is the danger. So
Right.
that tells us we must use the club trick, the club suit, to take the possible finesse. We cannot afford to take the diamond finesse, because if the diamond finesse loses, it will lose in the West hand. So that tells us once they play the king of spades, then the queen of spades, then we win with the ace of spades. And then we lead a small club. We could go to the board and with a winning heart and try the diamond finesse. It's both of them are 50-50 chance. But if we try the diamond finesse and it loses to the dangerous opponent. So that's why we do the club finesse. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
And
yes.
you need to
But-
figure
but
that
Sal,
out from the
why-
beginning. Yes, Christiane?
Why do you assume that the king of diamonds is in the West hand?
You don't assume that it
Yeah.
is. It could be either place.
Okay.
But if it is in the West hand, if it loses, then West is going to cash the rest of those spades. So what you do is you play the clubs, because then if the finesse doesn't work, East wins the finesse. So you try that suit. So if East wins the king of clubs, which he will do, that finesse is off and he's going to win the king of clubs, he can't do anything to hurt you. He can't lead a spade back, and you've got winners in hearts and diamonds. If he leads diamonds back, you play the ace of diamonds. You don't take that finesse. You play the ace of diamonds and then lead a small club back and all your clubs are good on the board.
But that's very difficult to know, Sally, because you don't know. We know what the dangerous opponent is,
Yes.
but we don't know where the king of clubs is or the king of diamonds.
No, we
And
don't. But what we're figuring is if we lose the diamond finesse, it will be to the west. That's where the finesse loses. If the king of diamonds is in the east, we're fine. But if the king of diamonds is in the west, we can't afford to lose that finesse. So we
Okay.
can't take that finesse. We just can't
You
do
can't
it. It's
take it.
too dangerous.
That's the-
We
can't
have a
take it.
choice. Here we have, this is the luxury. You don't usually have this luxury, but here we have two fine suits. We could finesse either
Mhm.
way. So finesse in the one that is not a danger to you. If you lead a small club, even if the finesse fails, and it does in this case, he wins with the king, he can't hurt you. If West had the king of clubs, he can't hurt you either with the king of clubs because it's finessable. You lead low. If he doesn't play the king, you play the queen of clubs. If he's got the king of clubs, you can come back to your hand with a heart, lead a club again, and then take the third club and your clubs are all good. So it's the danger is if you try to take the diamond finesse and the king of diamonds wins, then he gets the rest of the tricks. And I grant you, this is one of the hardest ones to see. To me, I think this is one of the hardest ones to see, that this is how you need to play this. But it does, if you stop to kind of reason it out, it makes sense that if you've got two finesses to take and one of them fails, it's where the winner is in the west, that's a problem. So you have to play the one where you hope that if it fails, it's going to be failing in the east. As then it's not a problem. All right, guys, that is chapter 6 and chapter 7. Next week, we're going to do chapter 7 and chapter 8, and that will be the end of our Play of the Hand class. You'll know everything you need to know. So,
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sally.
Sally.
see you guys
Sally.
Wednesday or Friday.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Sally. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.